Coming to spinal field divergence, the gap is given a calculated as per formula, and the abutting field is treated with double junction technique or spinal shift technique. The another technique is field gap technique. It will result in cold spot above and is hot spot in the deeper tissues. And the other technique is feathering technique. The feathering of the gap can smoothen out those gradients. These are the four techniques to overcome the spinal divergence problem. Coming to double junction technique, it's a method to ensure a dose homogeneity without the need for gaps, and it is described by Johnson and Kepka. And the principle of this is an overlapping segment is treated with two different fields on alternate days. So the junction is therefore automatically feathered on alternate days, and it receives a homogeneous dose of 50% and junctional dose of 50% in the remaining time. So this is the principle of the double junction technique, and no cold spots are generated. So this is the double junction technique. On day one, suppose there are two fields, upper spinal and lower spine fields. On day one, upper spinal field is shortened so that this shortened area will be covered by lower spine field, and upper spine field covers only this area so that there will not be any overlapping on day one. And day two will shorten the lower spine field so that the shortened area will be covered by upper spine field so that there will not be any overlapping. This is a junctional technique. And the other technique is the field gap technique. We can use the formula and we can create a separation distance that we have to maintain that gap on each fraction. The formula to calculate the formula to these are the contents we have to find. L1, the distance of the upper span field, L2 is lower span field, and SST1 and SST2. And yeah, coming to the formula is this one. S is equal to half into L1 into D by SST1 plus half into L2 into D by SST2. This is the formula. By using this formula, we'll get the separation. This you have to maintain every day so that there will be there will be not any overlapping of the two spinal fields. There is something called fixed gap technique. If you don't want to use the field gap formula, many institutes use a fixed gap ranging from 5 to 10 mm, less than 5 to 10 mm. Coming to other technique, gap feathering technique, it is feathering in which it refers to the movement of the junction of two fields. The purpose of this gap feathering technique is that it reduces the overdose due to the overlap and reduces the underdose due to the gap, and allows a longer segment of the card to be exposed to more homogeneous dose. Feathering also reduces the impact of setup errors. Usually shifted by 1 to 2 centimeter at each shift between 5 to 7 fractions, either in the cranial direction or caudal direction. And in this technique, the spinal superior collimator is advanced by the same distance superiorly if the junction to be shifted cranially. Similarly, the lower border of the superior spinal field and the superior border of the inferior spinal field. I'll repeat, the lower border of the superior spinal field and the superior border of the inferior spinal field are shifted superiorly, maintaining the calculated gap between them. This is the technique, junctional shift technique. We shift the caudal border of the upper field and cranial border of the lower field superiorly between each 5 to 7 fractions so that there will not be any overlapping. Coming to the posterior fossa boost, so we have done with CSA 23.4 gray in standard risk and 36 gray in high risk. Now the boost, posterior fossa boost to the up to 55 gray. These are the borders: anteriorly posterior clinoid process, posteriorly internal occipital protuberance, inferiorly C2 C3, and superiorly there is a midpoint between the foramen magnum and the vortex, or 1 centimeter above the tentorium. This is the tentorium, 1 centimeter above this. So this is the field border of the posterior fossa. The field arrangements will be two lateral opposing fields. And conformal technique, these are the volumes: GTV, tumor bed on MRI, and CTV, 1.5 centimeter margin to the GTV, and PTV around 5 mm margin to the CTV. Uh, in this, the 95% of the isodose covers 100% of the CTV and 95% of the PTV. These are the dose constraints. We have to remember all these dose constraints. This is the 3D CRT, CSA by 3D CRT technique. And coming to CSA by IMRT technique, IMRT plans provided better healthy tissue sparing than 2D or 3D technique. IMRT results in better OR uh, sparing without a significant increase in integral dose. There's something other technique called craniospinal irradiation by three isocenter jagged junction. This is the article. You can go through this article. In this, the plan used three field sets, each with say different isocenters, unique isocenter, three isocenter. One field set with 7 fields treated with the cranium and two field sets treated with the spine. Each set using three fields. And fields from adjacent sets were overlapped and the optimization process smoothly integrated the dose inside the overlapped junction. One IMR plan is enough to cover the entire target volume. This is the sagittal view of the three isocenter jagged junction technique. Is a conventional plan and for the same patient, and the conventional plan and the IMRT plan. So coming to CSA by VMAT technique, the reduction of the lead sequelae and thus improved quality of life may be achieved by the use of VMAT and a VMAT planning solution for a different lengths of principal axis has been developed with significant reduction in dose to the OIRs around the cranium and the neuroaxis. However, there may be risk of second malignancy due to increased integral dose. Coming to the CSA by tomotherapy, it's a rotational IMRT technique. There is no need for junctions. So helical tomotherapy delivers continuous arc-based intensity modulated radiotherapy that gives high conformability and excellent dose homogeneity for the target values. Helical tomotherapy allows for different dosing of multiple targets, resulting in very good dose distribution. The use of pre-treatment CT scan imaging with helical tomotherapy allows increased precision with respect to patient positioning and use of reduced PTV margin. Coming to the CSI proton therapy. So in proton therapy, this is the most common, one of the most common indications for proton therapy is medulloblastoma or brain skull-based tumors. These are the main indications for proton therapy. You can see the dose distribution here between the proton therapy and IMRT, between the 3D CRT and proton therapy. The main points are there will be uniform dose distribution to the posterior fossa and spinal cord, and near complete organ sparing, lower probability of developing secondary hearing or any hormonal defects or toxicities, long-term effect of neutron still not quantified. These are the advantages of the proton therapy. This is the article which published from the proton therapy review of the proton therapy in transdermal irradiation. So proton transdermal irradiation is superior to other techniques in terms of toxicity. There is decreased risk of second malignancies, radiocarcinogenesis, and risk of organ sparing. The risk of organ sparing will be more less reduced toxicity compared to other 2D, 3D, or IMRT techniques of the proton therapy. So these are the wires. All these wires are treated as eyes, cochlea, parotid, oral cavity, mandible, thyroid, larynx, heart, lungs, esophagus, liver, kidneys, gonads, breast, and whole pelvis. These are the critical structures to be contoured. Those who are doing craniosacral irradiation contouring, they have done all this wire contouring. Coming to the complications of the treatment, these are the main complications: posterior fossa syndrome, neurocognitive impairment, hearing loss, short stature, endocrinal abnormalities like growth hormone deficiency, hypothyroidism, and ACTH deficiency, and secondary malignancies like radiation carcinogenesis and radiation carcinogenesis. Coming to the conclusions, by now all of us will be knowing what is the management of the standard risk and high risk. In standard risk, there will be reduced dose CSI 23.4 gray with concurrent vincristine, followed by adjuvant chemotherapy with CCNU, cyclophosphamide, and cisplatin. In high risk, same thing, standard dose craniosacral irradiation 36 gray with posterior fossa boost to the 55.8 gray, along with the concurrent and adjuvant chemotherapy. And there are new molecular subgrouping of medulloblastoma, which has been given a new insight in the cause of the disease, and it has only prognostic value as of now. And there are some new treatment strategies are based on the molecular pathway are under trial. They can like SSH pathway inhibitors, usmodegib. These are still under trial. They can come in future. They may come as a treatment of choice for medulloblastoma in molecular subtypes. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Thank you.